Hey guys, Happy New Year. It's Ken Maxfield, the owner of the Maxfield Report, and this is our market recap for the week ending, January the 2nd. The week started out, of course, holiday week. We're in between Christmas and New Year's holiday. Packers entered the week continuing to insist they possessed strong sold forward positions. Offer list reflected or backed up these claims. Very few hides offered. The big change that most saw were that the number of regular weights being offered was dwindling while the number of jumbos were increasing. That's not uncommon for this time of year. What's really uncommon is that it's taken this long to see that transition from regular weights to heavyweights. You would have thought that it happened more closer to the beginning of last month, but needless to say, it looks like the regular weights are now going to be hard to come by, and there's going to be a plethora of heavier or jumbo weights, so keep that in mind. Asking prices, for the most part, they were unchanged with last week. You had a few guys that were looking for additional increases. As far as interest, it was a typical holiday week. I mean, the guys willing to share their price ideas were trying to get Packers to consider prices below the last traded levels. Packers continue to refuse to trade the market lower in spite of numerous unconfirmed rumors of some of the Packers doing secret sales at levels well below the market for prompt shipment because of, we'll talk about the shipping numbers here a little bit later, but shipments continue to fall short of the harvest. That's creating, even though on paper guys are sold, it's creating problems in order to allow them to keep product in the building or find alternative places to put it because, end of the day, if you continue to produce hides, you got to be able to ship hides. So overall last week, I would say prices steady, no better than steady, really for a lack of trading. There were some, again, guys trying to say they were able to buy a little cheaper. I'm not sure I buy into that. I just don't think there was a lot of business concluded. As far as the knock last week, as we were, Friday was a holiday. We had 451 going into the holiday. I think you're going to see somewhere between 50 to 75 on Saturday. So we'll probably end up about 5.25 for the week. So, not a terrible harvest for a holiday week. As far as the export report, this time of year, you got sales for this year, sales for next year, so it's a bit encrypted. So let me summarize it for you here. Sales of wet salted hides were 354,000 hides. It's the best sales we've seen in about 2 months. Sales of wet blue hides, 214,000. That actually was the second best for the quarter. So total sales for the last week on a very short week, 3 days, was 568,000 hides, which second largest week of the quarter, which doesn't make a lot of sense with Christmas and all that. Could have been some of it was late reporting carryovers from the week prior. I'm going to put a little bit of credence on that. I just didn't get a feel that it was a extremely productive week of sales for most people, but there again, this report unfortunately doesn't get audited by the USDA, so we're subject to how people end up reporting it. So again, don't want to get anybody alarmed. It was busy, but it was, it wasn't dead either, okay? On cow hides, excuse me, similar situation. Producers claiming they're well sold. They are offering very few hides. They're telling these guys, hey, we're sold till through January into February. Don't need to do anything. Offers are minimal. Some guys pushing for a little bit more money. There was some rumblings out there that maybe some branded cows traded, $1 to $1 higher. Native cows pretty much unchanged. Dairy cows, if you got them, you're probably foolish not to ask more because they seem to be in demand. But overall, a holiday week interest, guys trying to buy lower, can't get that done. I think, if anything got done, it was fully steady, if not incrementally higher, but a lot of questions as to whether these guys cleared their harvest or not. So quick trip around the world. Most of our correspondents are out, enjoying the holidays, but just a quick recap in Europe, kind of a similar story as the States. The big chatter is about Brexit and the divorce that's going to happen between the UK and Europe and how that's all going to sort out. Speculation is it's going to cost more to ship hides within Europe from the UK. As far as who's going to pay for that, I'm not quite sure. So keep an eye on that situation. as far as trading, bits and pieces put together, no worse than steady levels. Guys are trying to get more, but they're finding a lot of resistance to higher prices. You go down to Australia, similar situation. Harvest levels remain lower than last year, not by much, but with producers well sold, they're continuing to force the issue, wanting to get more money, but with, the window to Asia closing to be able to ship there from Australia, plus the tensions going on between the political tensions between China and Australia is kind of limiting the opportunity for these guys to do a lot of business with Chinese tanners. So that market fully steady, not going any lower because guys are sold. The kill's small. Down in Brazil, prices have been going up pretty steadily here the last few weeks. Starting to get vibrations from many people that, might be starting to bump up against the ceiling, kind of the general tone of the global market. So as far as what we expect for next week, a couple things to keep an eye on. We look for that harvest number in the States to get back up over probably 635 to 645. That's a pretty decent number for January. I'm going to be very interested to see how eager tanners in China are to talk about shipments for the second half of February, actually end of February, March. Of course, now you cannot get hides there before Chinese New Year. That's going to let me, get a feel as to how their business is, because if they're willing to start talking about shipments for that late February, March timeframe, maybe we've got a fighter's chance of keeping this market steady. However, if they start shying away, because they have been shying away the last couple, quarters of this year, because remember, I've been writing about how if you take the weekly average purchases of Italy for wet blue hides, China for wet salted hides, what they bought in the second quarter versus the third quarter reflects the numbers that are lower. And in the fourth quarter, the numbers are even lower than the second quarter by as much as 40%. So do you want to argue these guys loaded up? Maybe their business isn't as good as they thought it was going to be. But that said, there's been a definite trend down on the interest level. Big kill numbers. Shipping remains a huge problem. We got to get through this. The steamship companies are sending empty containers back to China. There's a huge shortage of available containers in the States. That's going to create shipping problems. You still have issues of not being able to ship to China. On top of that, Mexico, you'll be able to start shipping towards the end of the week, which will be, at least a little bit of, air for these guys producing hides. But overall, I think this month, shipments are going to take a priority over price, but there again, you can lower hide prices $5. That's not going to make equipment appear. So it's going to be a little dicey. I think that, those involved in the logistic part of the business are not going to have a very fun start to 2021. That's it for now. Ken Maxfield, the Hide Guy. Check out my website, www.themaxfieldreport.com. I do offer free trials on the website. Check it out. I don't require a credit card to do so. So that's it for now until next week.